everyone, this is Dr. Kalpana Sangwan. I truly apologize for the delay in this video. Today let's learn about rhinoorbital cerebral mucormycosis. What is mucormycosis? Mucormycosis are the infection caused by a group of fungi called as mucorales, which are referred to as mucormycosis. Mucorales include mucor, rhizopus, absidia and rhizomucor, which are commonly found in soil and contaminated dead and decaying matter. These type of infections are commonly seen in people with critically low immunity. So who all are at risk? People with uncontrolled diabetes, people who have been on ventilator on oxygen support for a prolonged period of time and have stayed in ICU for a certain period of time. Steroids and immunomodulators like tocilizumab make things worse for these patients due to immunosuppression. These patients who have received transplants and are on immunosuppressants for the same. All these factors make our body susceptible for harboring fungal infections, especially mucorales. It is a ubiquitous fungi and mode of spread is via inhalation of fungal spores from contaminated soil, dead and decaying matter. Why is it called black fungus? It is angioinvasive as fungal hyphae invade the blood vessels and lead to ischemic necrosis of the surrounding tissues, which causes a blackish scar formation and giving it a black appearance. So how does COVID-19 play a role in the rampant spread of mucormycosis? COVID affects CD4 and CD8 cells, and there is significant reduction in the number of lymphocytes and T cells, which is directly proportional to the severity of COVID-19. At the same time, there are some mucorale-specific T cells which produce cytokines like interferon gamma and interleukin 4, 6, 10 and 17. And this number also goes down significantly in COVID-19, which makes the environment quite conducive for fungal growth. Serum ferritin is also directly proportional to the severity and progression of the disease, and hyperglycemia in these patients promotes glycosylation of transferrin and ferritin, which in turn impairs the ability to chelate the iron, and there is high concentration of free iron. This free iron is utilized by fungal hyphal growth, so the progression is quite fast. An immunocompromised state due to steroids and immunomodulators like tocilizumab make it difficult to mount an immune response against fungal infection with impaired phagocytosis. Vasculopathy is a known phenomenon in COVID-19 and it also favors fungal angioinvasion. Stages of rhinoorbital cerebral mucormycosis. Stage 1 indicates nasal involvement. Stage 2 means nasal and adjacent paranasal sinuses involvement. Stage 3 comprises of ocular involvement, while stage 4 is cerebral involvement. And by the time patient lands in this stage, it's life-threatening and mortality is as high as 80%. So why are we staging the disease? To predict the outcome and to start targeted treatment to mitigate the disease progression to next stage. And like we discussed, nasal and paranasal sinuses involvement is an early stage, and we must have a high degree of suspicion in a diabetic or post-COVID-19 recovered patient if he or she presents with persistent nasal block, nasal discharge, headache, facial pain or anesthesia, and a history of loose teeth or in discoloration of palate. We must order an ENT opinion for diagnostic nasal endoscopy. Vital involvement is inevitable if we miss early signs and fungus gains entry via necrosed lamina peperacea to the medial side of the orbit. Patient does present with lid swelling, headache, double vision and even restriction of movements once ophthalmoplegia sets in. We must keep an ENT surgeon in the loop and at the same time order MRI brain, orbit and paranasal sinuses with contrast enhancement to detect the extent of involvement. As progression sets in through superior orbital fissure or via ethmoidal sphenoidal sinuses, fungal hyphae gain entry to brain parenchyma. Patient usually presents with mental status changes, disorientation, sometimes hemiparesis, or even seizures. Like I said before, mortality is very high in CNS involvement. So how do we confirm our diagnosis? For example, if the patient has early signs or nasal signs, diagnostic nasal endoscopy should be done and we should send the biopsy for KOH mount and in high degree of suspicion, start the treatment ASAP. Order MRI and CT with contrast enhanced involving orbit, paranasal sinuses and brain to look for orbital as well as CNS involvement. In the early stages, subtle signs on MRI or CT are seen. It need not to have frank opacification or bone erosion till late in the course. Contrast enhanced MRI is the gold standard modality and it does give valuable information about viability of the tissue, as non-viable tissue won't take up the contrast. So it will also modify the management, which we'll discuss in the upcoming slides, while CT itself reveals only bony involvement. Preventive measures. No matter how many times I emphasize on this, but the most important factor to be deflate is glycemic control. A tight glycemic control does protect and improve the prognosis of the disease. Any systemic illness like hypertension, diabetes, or immunosuppression has to be dealt with simultaneously. In case a patient is on steroids or immunomodulators for COVID-19, please do titrate the treatment to lessen the immunocompromised state. And daily ENT and eye evaluation is needed to detect early sign of involvement. Coming to management part, management includes intravenous and oral antifungal treatment, along with surgical debridement of nasal and paranasal sinuses and the treatment of underlying comorbid conditions. Let's address the management as per stage. Stage 1 or 2 means no orbital involvement. So go ahead with the MRI or CT guided early and aggressive debridement of paranasal sinuses, which may include turbinectomy with palatal resection, with medial orbital wall resection with clean margins. In addition, we should do sinus irrigation with amphotericin B 1 mg per ml with transcutaneous retrobulbar amphotericin B injection, that is TRAM 3.5 mg per ml to halt the progression. If stage 2 with minimum orbital involvement, then check for contrast uptake by the extraocular muscles and surrounding orbital tissues on MRI orbital scans. And in case there is poor or no uptake of contrast, which means it is devitalized or necrotic tissue, so we should go ahead with orbital exenteration along with TRAM and along with that sinus irrigation with amphotericin B 1 mg per ml. And we should send the debrided tissue for culture and sensitivity. Supportive treatment in all stages should be given in the form of intravenous liposomal amphotericin B 5 to 10 mg per kg body weight for a minimum of 4 weeks, or oral posaconazole 300 mg twice a day on day 1, followed by 300 mg once daily for next 4 weeks till clinical or radiological regression is ensued. Stage 3 indicates extensive orbital involvement and should be managed by orbital exenteration with aggressive debridement of the paranasal sinuses with sinus irrigation of amphotericin B. Intravenous or oral antifungal therapy has to be supplemented along with surgical intervention. In case liposomal form is not available, in that case deoxycholate should be used, as the liposomal form is least toxic to the kidney, so that should be preferred over deoxycholate form. In case of CNS involvement, which is stage 4, surgical intervention should be attempted only if the systemic condition of the patient allows for it. Else, just supportive treatment in the form of intravenous or oral antifungal therapy should be continued. There are some do's and don'ts when it comes to mucormycosis. Let's address the don'ts first. Do not self-medicate and take professional advice. Do not delay in reporting symptoms and please consult a doctor. Do not ignore the medical advice and avoid being a Google doctor or a Google patient. Avoid glycemic control. Do watch the early signs of mucormycosis and maintain good hygiene and avoid going to construction sites and damp places. Most importantly, do follow medical advice instead of coax. I hope this video was useful in summarizing mucormycosis for you. Thank you for your patience.